Hello, everyone. It's Matthew Francis, and welcome back to another episode of the Unfiltered podcast. For those of you who don't know, this is the podcast where anything and everything can and probably will happen at some point. As always, I'm joined by the somewhat lovely Alex Peirce. What's going on, Alex?
Aw, I'm somewhat lovely. I think that's the nicest thing you've ever said to me.
That is, and
what's up, guys?
I'm putting a face on for the podcast listeners.
Oh, I can only imagine with the sort of face. You must be so flattered that I said thank you.
I am. I'm surprised, to be honest, but...
He woke me up out of a deep, deep sleep just to be on here. So, listeners, the reason I do this, you're the reason I'm not killing Matthew at the moment.
To be fair, he asked me to wake him up, so it's not my fault. And I told him he's the one that decided to go to sleep, too. Anyways, a couple follow-ups from last week. If you guys tuned in last week, we talked about a bunch of stuff. And I got a couple follow-ups on it. The first one, it's not really a follow-up from last week. It's a follow-up in general. But we've expanded the podcast. We are now available on 8 different platforms for you guys to listen on. So we were originally available on Spotify and Anchor, and now we are available on Apple Music and iTunes, that is, Google Podcasts, Radio Public, Breaker, Overcast, and Pocket Cast. So we are on 8 different platforms, and we're pretty much everywhere. Plus, these get uploaded on YouTube. You can listen on our Instagram. The links are posted on Twitter, so you can listen pretty much anywhere that you have internet access and the ability to, stream one of them. So make sure to check them out. If you are listening on either YouTube or anything like that, the links will be in the description of everywhere you can listen. And go check out the first episode if you haven't already.
Listeners, definitely get our name out there. If you like our podcast, your friends, tell your family, let people know, because more views, the more popular I feel.
Yeah, and Alex needs friends. Alex doesn't have friends, he needs friends.
Oh, come on now. I've got more friends than you do.
Oh, that is true. Anyways, moving on. Last week, Alex posed the question when we were talking about electric cars, mainly Teslas.
I wanted to know if the Tesla horn sounded like a Roadrunner.
Yeah, and honestly, the way I answered that was I had no clue. I had never heard a Tesla horn, and nor had Alex, so I Googled it. Turns out, Tesla horns are just a normal horn. There's nothing really special to it. Although, Elon Musk did say that he wants the customer to be able to customize the way their horn sounds. And I think that's going to be really interesting, some of the things that, like Alex, wants it to sound like a Roadrunner. I would probably want it to sound like some tank or something like that, Some big truck. Little car, big truck horn. I think that would look good.
Love it. Big truck. Hit the horn and it goes beep, beep, like Roadrunner.
Exactly.
That would be freaking crazy cool.
Get that on the Cybertruck or something. I'm down. And then one final update I got from last week, and this came out the end of last week, actually. It was Friday or Saturday that I saw it. I was reading another article about GTA 6. Now, we talked about GTA 6 last week and what me and Alex would like to see out of the game and all that. And I was reading an article by I forget who actually published the article. It was a gaming network that published it. And they said that there was talks between Rockstar Games, the people who make Grand Theft Auto, the series, and Sony, who makes PlayStation. Obviously, for those of you who don't know, the next-gen consoles are coming out, so that's the PlayStation 5, and what is it, the Xbox... I don't even know what the next...
I don't remember.
It's got a weird name. That's the one thing that Xbox, and they don't, like, you had the Xbox 360, then you had the Xbox One, then you had this, and it's not in order. PS5 1, PS5, PS5 1 or 2, 3, 4, and now 5. Like, come on. You can't even label them It's the Series X. Anyways, regardless of that, Rockstar had apparently been talking with Sony to do an exclusive release of Grand Theft Auto 6 on the PS5. If it happens, now obviously there's no confirmation on Grand Theft Auto 6 coming out. There is confirmation on the PS5 coming out, and I believe that's November at some time when the Series 1 comes out for Xbox. But if they did do it, the article I read said it would be an exclusive release for PS5 for at least 30 days before any other console and before it came out on PC as well. So that would be huge for Sony. Obviously, it's going to be a multi-million-dollar deal between Sony and Rockstar. But can you imagine the return on investment for Sony on that? Like, that's going to be huge. Yeah, that's going to be huge. You imagine Rockstar's obviously going to pay Sony something to have their game advertised on the PlayStation Store or the Xbox Store or whatever. And they obviously got to pay for it to be, put into a bundle package where you buy a PS5 and you get this game with it. But I'm wondering how they're going to do this. Like, it's going to be interesting, and I think the return on investment for Sony is going to be huge. Millions of dollars if it happens like this.
I can interject. When Star Wars Battlefront came out, not the first one, but the 2015 version of it, Sony and EA did a thing where they partnered, and you could get a free digital download of it. Well, I'm a big Star Wars geek. Well, not a big Star Wars geek, but I like Star Wars a lot. And so my mom went out and bought me the PS4 with the digital download for it. And so that's how I got my PS4. So I think that's how they'll do it, is a free digital download to GTA 6. That's a big, for the consumer, that's a big thing. Like, oh my gosh, I get the PlayStation 5 and GTA 6? Like,
yeah,
holy crap.
Now that you mention that, when I got my PS4 that I currently have now, that's when Call of Duty World War II came out.
Remember?
And they actually gave us the disc in that. And that's how I got mine. It was actually cheaper to buy that bundle package with the console, the game, and like my console's camo, I got a green controller, all that, so it all matches. But it was cheaper to buy that than to buy a normal console itself, because of all the promotional stuff that happened behind, with Sony and whoever makes, I don't even know who makes the Call of Duty games, but whoever makes those.
That one was I
don't think it's, is it Ubisoft?
Call of Duty alternates. They do every three games, Call of Duty changes their developers. So the next one is going to be Treyarch, who made Call of Duty Black Ops and Black Ops 2, which is something that we can talk about right now.
Yeah, I mean, I'm down. You know more about that than I do on the Call of Duty side.
So Call of Duty, they have this amazing thing, and I absolutely love it because it allows different developers to get different ideas out there. Call of Duty is an Activision game. Activision, one of the big ones. It made pretty much 90% of the games that I've played growing up as a kid. They alternate. So I think it's 2 to 3 games, they'll change like developers. So 1 minute it could be Treyarch, the next it could be Infinity Ward, so on and so forth. So there have been a lot of hints from the Xbox store and different sounds in Call of Duty, like at the end of Warzone, if you're one of the last ones standing, you can hear, or if the gas is coming in, you can hear the sound from the original Black Ops zombies. There have been a lot of hints saying that Black Ops, that the new Call of Duty coming out this year will be Call of Duty Black Ops, and some speculate it's Cold War. If it is, if they do go back to Black Ops, oh my gosh, I am so buying it.
So I did a quick Google search here, just because I'm not 100%, like I said, I'm not 100% familiar with the Call of Duty aspect and all that. But it looks like from the article I'm reading right now that they did confirm that the next game title is Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War. So it looks like that was kind of confirmed not too long ago, it looks like.
Yeah, it's got to be recent because I remember the last time.
August 17th. So it what's today?
August
It came out
17th.
today.
That's today.
Yeah. So.
All right.
Yep.
I'm not totally I don't sound like a complete idiot.
Yep. Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War. So. And
I wonder if they'll go with the original cast from the game. I'd love that. Sam Worthington,
it would be,
who's in Avatar.
And I think that's something that a lot of game developers have to look at, especially with these long-running franchises like Call of Duty and Hitman and GTA and all that. You gotta look at, yes, you have to obviously change it up, right? No one's gonna want to play the same game over and over and over. But
I think that's where Call of Duty had problems, is because they started to go futuristic
and
with
that's
Ghost.
where I lost it. When
Yep.
I
Ghost
used to
was the
play,
last one I bought.
yeah,
Till World War II.
I used to play a couple of the original ones, but when they started getting futuristic and stuff, it became, I guess,
it became like Halo,
unrealistic.
Star Wars.
Yeah, exactly. It became Halo, and that's exactly what I thought, because I had a Halo game before, and I didn't like it because it was kind of too futuristic, and it was not the best game at the time that I had. It was kind of a little outdated, but
Yeah.
and I think some of the Halo games in general are just outdated, even some of the more recent ones. But the futuristic stuff I don't think is selling, and I'm glad that Call of Duty was able to realize that and kind of get back when they came, and did World War II and stuff. I think they kind of realized, okay, that didn't hit well with a lot of people, especially the people that have played our game since day one. Let's go back to that normal Call of Duty realm, I guess you could call it, and
Yeah.
and
So-
regenerate what we had done before. Just put it in a different environment with, a different storyline type of deal.
And I'm one of the few people that I know. I'm one of I can't remember the exact ratings of it, that played the very first Call of Duty when it came out. I was 3. I was like, "Hey, Mom, can I get that?" And she goes, "All right, go ahead." We got it. My dad and I would play it for hours and hours, and it still holds up today. The original, very first one. The graphics are a little still a phenomenal game, and I can still play it all the time because it's a very good one. I played every single Call of Duty as they came out up until after Ghost was the last one that I bought new, because I was tired of the futuristics. My favorite one, now mind you, probably because they put President Kennedy in it, was Black Ops. I loved Black Ops, and the main character was named Alex, and my name's Alex, so a little bit of just stupid childhood stuff. It still is one of my favorite games ever, Call of Duty Black Ops. I mean, it was incredible.
And I think, like, World War II, I love World War II, and I'm actually going to, if I can do it right, I'm going to actually do a series on redoing World War II on YouTube, because the game was by far,
Phenomenal.
it was great, and the way they did the graphics and the animations and everything,
Oh my gosh.
100% like A+ to them for doing that. And
It was
and I think they did great, and like I said, I'm going to, if I can work it in and get it right, I'm going to do a whole nother series where I just run through that game top to bottom and redo it. I've already done the game twice now, I think, and
Yep.
there's no way that's like it's ever going to get old.
Because in the opening scene to the story mode, it's straight out of Saving Private Ryan, D-Day,
Exactly.
Beach. Like,
And I
Saving
think,
Private Ryan is one of the greatest movies ever.
and I think that kind of moment, like you just said, Saving Private Ryan and D-Day, that initial scene where they hit you, you're going into the beach, and no
Depending on where.
and no lack of words, shit's hitting the fan. I think that's what just took everyone that was playing this game that had doubts and just sucked them in.
Yep.
And-
From that moment on, it's just because
And I
how many
think, yeah,
games are especially like AAA title games like Call of Duty. Call of Duty's always pushed the envelope. When you start off a game at Omaha Beach and you've got people throwing up, and then if you have the graphics set on, instead of turning them off, you have them on, you see the guy next to you and his head gets shot right off. That brings you right into the thick of it. Like, it's such a phenomenal game. It's such a phenomenal way to start off a game, period. And then it just keeps building off of that.
Yeah, there is no doubt that if they can produce another game like that in the Call of Duty series, that they are going to just rake it in and get everyone hooked for another who knows how long. I mean, people are already hooked for now and are going to be hooked for a while, but if they can produce something that good again, it's going to be... I think we're going to see Halo go out the window, and we're going to see all these other smaller first-person shooter games kind of dwindle off even more than they already are.
Well, I personally loved Battlefield, Battlefield 1. I haven't played Battlefield 5 yet, but Battlefield's one of my favorite ones, and I've played that since the beginning. With Call of Duty Cold War, I mean, I'm a history guy, and Matt, I know you know your stuff about Vietnam too. You can do just like that in World War II with Vietnam. Like, you can go into the nitty gritty. In Vietnam is someplace that you look at how many movies have been made about it and how many of them have been phenomenal. Full Metal Jacket, We Were Soldiers, Apocalypse Now, and the list goes on and on and on. You can easily do that with Call of Duty Cold War because there's so much about Vietnam being there. Everything that I've read, everything that I've watched, you can take World War II and blow that out of the water with Call of Duty Cold War.
Yeah, and it's, like I said, it's going to be interesting to see what they can do, and if they're bringing back the Black Ops series, it's going to be, especially with it being Cold War, that's going to be... I'm sold. As it comes out. I'm sold. Just off the title.
That is one of... I think there's another game that I'm buying as soon as it comes out, and that's Assassin's Creed Valhalla, which I'm an Assassin's Creed guy because it's history. I'm a nerd, whatever. Matthew can vouch. I'm a history geek.
Yes.
I very excited. The sky's the limit at this point for Call of Duty Cold War.
And I
hope they don't.
As I say, I hope they don't mess it up. But even without seeing trailers, as if it stands right now, I'm sold.
All right, my turn.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. Switching from the video games to something more. What's the word? If that makes any sense. I just saw. Right prior to us starting this.
Watching this? We're not watching this.
I'm watching it. I'm watching Discord right now. So, like, I mean, and I'm watching you type on our script thing. So, like, I'm watching. So,
it's the first
I'm
time.
not lying. Anyway, I'm going to interrupt me, boy. President Trump is the only way he will lose this November if the election is rigged. I just, like, say for a second, that is not how it works. The only way he will lose is if he continues doing what he's doing, and that's not doing his job. We're not going to spend a lot of time on this subject because I don't want to alienate people. That is a bunch of crap. People don't like him. You look at any Gallup poll, there's a lot of people. Granted, Gallup polls are to be taken with a grain of salt because they're iffy. His approval rating is in the 30s. You don't have an approval rating in the 30s and then win election. That's just not how it happens. Anything, if he doesn't lose this November, the election might be rigged. So either way, the story will be someone says it's rigged. You know that's how it's going to play out, don't you, Matt?
Yeah, we all kind of know how that would play out. And I think going into last week where Biden picked his running mate, and I'm not, for those of you who don't know, I'm a registered Republican. I
Registered Democrat.
Yep, we have completely different sides of the spectrum here. But I do think that there are some issues with some of the things he has said recently. But I also think there are some issues with the other side as well.
Very easily. Very easily.
Like there is in any, I would call it a debate, but it's not. It's an argument at this point. And it has been since day one, and it will be until January.
Nah, I'm an idealist. I'm a realist at the same time. There hasn't been an election since 2012 where I've been like, all right, I know who I want to win. I'm going to stick by them. So the fact that in the last 2 years, not last 2 years, but the last two elections, this one and then 2016, where decision is the lesser of two evils.
Yes.
Disconcerting on a lot of levels, because in 2016 you had Trump and Clinton. I dislike Hillary Clinton with a passion. I didn't dislike Trump as much. Now I dislike Trump with a passion. And Biden, maybe years ago he would have been a good option. Now he's older. He's having too many gaps in his speech. It scares me.
They held it wasn't a debate because it was only Biden and Harris. It was more of a press conference, I guess you could call it.
Announcement of her candidacy.
No, it was after that. It was in the I think it was Friday is when it took place. And they got up in a podium. Obviously, because of COVID, there was no one there in the audience itself. It was a online type deal. It was streamed, whatever. But every flag was present, like right down to, I almost think county flags were present. But at the end, what I noticed, they got up and they started, they got together, Harris and Biden. There were some photographers there, so obviously some pictures were taken, whatever. But then they sat there and they started waving, and Harris was looking at the cameras there. Like I said, it was recorded, it was online. And, she was waving at the cameras, whatever. Biden was just kind of off in his own little land. It was in some theater or whatever, some sound stage, whatever it might have been. I don't know the exact location. And he wasn't looking at the cameras. He wasn't doing anything. He was just kind of blank staring off into what would have been the audience if there was one. Just waving. And wasn't looking at the cameras or anything. And it almost looked like his soul wasn't there. Like he was just kind of, like I said, blank staring off in the middle of nowhere. Just looking like, like he had just seen a ghost or something, just nodding off almost. And that was kind of concerning, seeing that. Looking like, okay, is he all right? Is he about to, have an issue here, or what's going on? And I was concerned, and I'm sure other people were as well, just looking at that.
It's the very, and you look at the presidency is one of the toughest jobs. I mean, you look at throughout history, there have been moments where president needs to be at the fit of their mental ball game. I mean, in 1962, with the Cuban Missile Crisis, FK was on the ball. He did what he needed to do. He issued a blockade, and he got the missiles out of Cuba. And then you look at President Obama with what he's done, some of the actions with Bush and Clinton and Reagan and Bush Sr. You need to be at the top, at the tippy top of your mental ball game to A, deal with leaders around the world, E, the crises, or however the hell you pronounce it, occur on a daily and weekly basis when you're the leader of the free world. And 3, you need to know what you're talking about and have a fluent type of speech throughout your 4 or 8 years or however long you're president. And I'm not seeing this with either one. Trump, his ego gets in the way 99.9% of the time. He says things that come out of his rear end. Biden says things that don't make sense. They call him Sleepy Joe. Well, Trump calls him Sleepy Joe, and it's not completely wrong. So either option, the top of the ticket is a good, it's the right person for the job at the moment. Oh, yikes.
Yeah, it's going to be a toss-up. I definitely think that they both have their perks, but there's definitely a lot of downfalls on either side. And I'm, like I said, I'm Republican. I know which way I'm going. You're Democrat. You know which way you're going. And we've known for a while. But it's going to be those, kind of like the swing states, it's going to be the swing people who don't really care what side they come from. They're just who's going to do a better job, who's going to last the 4 years and not, tumble over out of their seat. And
if this isn't an indictment on how bad Trump is losing his own party, Texas, which is one of the biggest GOP, Republican states for decades, is looking to be a swing state in November. If that's not an indictment of Trump administration, then I don't know what else is, because Texas, Democrat wins Texas. That's just the way it was. The last one to do that was Lyndon Johnson in '64, and that was only because he was from Texas.
Yeah.
So
we'll see. It'll be interesting. Like we said last week. Right now, it really means nothing. It's going to be really end of September, October, and the beginning of November that's going to really settle where these swing states are and these swing people and how they vote and what goes on from there. That's really what's going to settle everything at that point and make decisions.
Let's not rush it, because I don't want to get to cold weather. I like wearing shorts and sleeping in.
Yeah, I'm not looking forward to cold weather either, but it's coming at some point.
Yeah. Why can't I move? Why can't I go to Arizona or Florida where it's nice and warm and palm trees all year round?
Yeah, but even there it gets cold. It's, not as cold as here, but it drops.
Yeah, we're in the freaking frozen tundra of the north.
Well,
those of you who don't know, we're in New York, so
it could be worse. It could be Alaska. That's what I thought. Moving forward, kind of into, it's kind of backing off of what we had just talked about with the election.
But same area of thought.
Same area, but it's not really
same time frame of thought.
Yeah,
that's what I meant.
Well, that and political members are weighing in on this, but it's whether or not students, whether it be elementary or even pre-K through 12th grade or college students, should actually go back to in-person classes in a campus, whether it be, like I said, a private public school for kindergarten through 12th grade or a university of some sort or a college campus. There's been a lot of debate. A lot of politicians have stated Trump is obviously a big supporter of sending children back, whereas the governor of New York was lenient, kind of didn't obtain that thought until only a couple weeks ago, and then even put a lot of restrictions on it and stuff like that. But there are a lot of things that weigh in on this, and I'd like to hear your thoughts, Alex, before you get into it and really unpack this whole thing.
I started, so I went to college. Matthew went right into college. I had a 5-week summer program that really made me not like the idea of college last year. I took about 6 months off. Matthew was going to school, and then I went back during the spring, and I was there for January, February, and then the beginning of March until COVID. Well, moved everything online. And some professors and some teachers just don't know how to accommodate for people online. So I basically said, you know what? I called admissions and said I'm going to take a W. I withdrew from the semester and I'm not going to go back. I'm likely not going to go back this year just because of other reasons, but um online learning can work for some people. Some people have that attention span. People like me, um, I can't really sit on my computer for that long and do things without falling asleep or getting bored. And on top of that, if you look outside of college, parents are busy with their jobs. It's very hard for parents to work 40 hours a week and then come home, or if they're working from home, and at the same time help their kids learn, help their kids, go to, basically do the schoolwork for them, be what teachers are. Can't be a teacher. They can be a tutor and help, after school, like kind of like my mom would do when I was younger. It's very hard for parents to work a 40-hour week and at the same time spend 6, 8 hours and to also be a teacher at the same time. So I think it's important that we do get kids back to school. There's also the safety risk. And there's got to be ways around it, ways that people haven't thought of yet. This is one of the trickiest things that even I'm wise enough to say I don't have a freaking clue, because there's so many ifs, ands, or buts that just makes it very scary to decide on either course.
And I would agree with that. As like Alex said, I went right into college after high school. I didn't take any time off. I, Nowadays, a lot of people that are going to college take a gap year where they take a year off between 12th grade and a freshman year of college. Um, I didn't. I chose not to. I got right in with what I wanted, do and the things that I wanted to take and all that. It was just better for me to go straight in. But I think now, this year, freshmen coming into college shouldn't. And here's why. Here's why I think, at least. Right now, we're in such a difficult time with classes. All these school districts and universities are coming up with these hybrid plans where you go in 2 days a week, or you have two classes in person, or and then the rest of your classes are online and all that. And I think for someone that just came out of their senior year, with the second half of the year completely locked down, not seeing any of their friends, not doing any of their senior activities or anything like that, and then going straight back into this similar setup where now you got 2 days where you're at home, but you got 3 days where you're there, you got 3 days at home, 2 days where you're in school, or you're all online. So I think that's just gonna it already hurt them, and we saw that with grades and just mental health in general over the past 4 or 5 months, and even before that, really since January when things started to decline. But the freshmen coming in, I think if they come in and actually do a hybrid form of teaching on a college campus, not only are you going to ruin their freshman year of college, they're not going to get those freshman experiences of meeting new people and, enjoying the experience of being on a college campus, having that freedom where if you don't show up, the professor doesn't care, but your grade's going down anyways. Compared to high school, you don't show up, your parents get called. That's a huge difference, and I think that if they come in, they're not going to enjoy that freedom. They're not going to enjoy that time that they have, and it's going to go down the hole for them. And the next 3 years are just going to be the similar type deal where they're just going to be stuck inside. Now, like you said, there are advantages and disadvantages, obviously, with the child care and the younger crowd, especially the kindergartners or the elementary school type kids, where they can't be home alone. They can't be, left in a child care facility all day, every day. That's expensive. And if you're working a 9 to 5 job, it's gonna be a problem where not only are your kids not going to be in school learning to be social with the friends that they've grown up with, that they've known since day one of kindergarten and such, but now with these health practices and such in child care centers, they're not even really going to be socializing with even the adults or the other kids at those centers. And I think that's going to be an issue. But if we send them to school and now there's a health issue or someone's immune compromised or whatnot, that's another issue. So, like Alex said, I don't know. I don't have a good plan. And really, I don't think there is one solid good plan. A good plan for me might be completely different than something for Alex, right? Like,
very easily.
And what's, we might have the same type of plan because we live in the same area, but someone that's coming, at my university, we have a big, not a huge, but we have a good amount of international students. We also have a good amount of city students that come in from large cities like New York City or Chicago and go to this university. I won't say the name, but they come to this university. Their plans are going to be completely different because now they have to quarantine. Now they have to, get tested at least 3 times. Now they have to do all these things, and that's just going to throw a damper on them where they might say, well, why should I even come to campus? Why shouldn't I just stay home and take online classes at a community college or something, save money, and do the same classes and not have to worry about getting sick, not have to worry about quarantining or getting tested more than I already am or any of this stuff because I'm traveling 4 hours, 5 hours to go to a college campus. And that's going to be the factors that they have to weigh. And obviously online classes, like I said before, are hurting kids in a way. Some people excel at online classes. Some people excel at in-person classes. No one's the same at all. I can tolerate online classes. I can't stand them though. But on the other end, Alex might love online classes, but can't stand in-person classes. So we could be completely different, and that's why I think that our plans could be completely different. And in a university, or even a 12th grade science classroom where you have 30 students, there could be 30 different plans in there about what they think is the best decision for them and their family. And I think that's kind of where, tying into politics again, I think that's where the politicians are kind of overstepping their boundaries a little in a way, because each side's and each person's pushing for something, and quite frankly, I don't think one thing is perfect for anyone.
Yeah, I think there's so many variables. I mean, everyone is different. I mean, I know people that can do online things. I know people that love online things. And I'm not one of them. I like to be in a classroom with other people. I like to be there to ask my professor and say, hey, what's this? Or go in depth in conversation about it. I like in conversation classes. I took a public speaking class, and that's not something that you can do online. So,
and tying in with that, I took an EMT class last year. That's something you can't do online. You do that online, people's lives are at risk. And same thing with you, public speaking. You might be able to speak online. You might be able to have your face online or whatever. But you're not going to get the feeling of sitting in front of a classroom with 30 of your peers and a professor looking at you. Or in a big lecture hall trying to give a speech. You're not going to get that feeling. You never will if you just sit behind a computer screen. And that's where online classes hurts, is computer screens hide everything. Computer screens hide your face. Computer screens hide your voice. It hides everything. And you could be doing a complete, like, for me, I have a 3-monitor setup on my computer.
I have one laptop.
Yeah, I have 3 monitors. I have a laptop. I have an iPad. How everyone in this world has a phone. You can be sitting there staring straight at the screen and have your phone in front of you looking at it, doing whatever, or be on another monitor, or be on your laptop doing something completely different, video gaming, playing Minecraft, watching YouTube, whatever, not paying attention. And that's where, especially, people on college campuses do that anyways. They always have and they always will. But in a kindergarten through 12th grade, that hurts people. Screen time is going way up all around the world, no matter if there's a pandemic or not. And it's hurting people, it's hurting the society, and it's hurting people's grades when it comes to online classes.
It really is, and there's so many things that can go wrong online. Wi-Fi craps out, or you lose power. Especially when we live in, if you live in a stormy area or a snowy area.
And
And
imagine you're in the middle of taking a test, right? And if you disconnect, you leave or anything like that, that test is invalid, and you're gonna rock the test. You're gonna get whatever, and your power goes out, and now your test is invalid, and you have no way to prove it. And now what? Right? So
yeah,
that's another issue right there. I'm glad you brought that up. I didn't even think of weather or anything like that.
yeah. So it's a very tricky thing to navigate. Um, I don't envy some of the politicians working for this. Um, I don't envy. You know, it's just a very crazy time, you know.
It it really is, and we would love to hear your guys' feedback. Like we said, we can only say what our recommendations are and what we think would be helpful for us and what we see from. Like I said, I went into college straight after. Alex did some, I guess you would call them winter classes type of deal before this whole pandemic happened. So we would love to hear your feedback and all that on Twitter and Instagram.
I just created a new Instagram, so
Yeah, so we would love to hear your input on this. It's going to be interesting, and we would love to hear what your guys' plans are, if you guys have kids or if you are a student, and how you feel about this whole situation and whether or not.
and we'll definitely and next week, if anyone says anything to either Matthew or I'll give you our Instagrams, our media Instagrams in a second. We'll definitely definitely incorporate what you guys say in the next week's podcast. Because
Yeah.
so I have a feeling this is going to be a continuing conversation.
Yeah, and I mean, college universities are starting to move in. I know at my university, freshmen moved in last week. Or excuse me, the beginning of this week. End of last week, Friday through Monday, they moved in. And returning students move in this coming Friday through Monday, and first classes are Monday. But we're ending early. We're ending before Thanksgiving, so we're cutting our semester almost 4 weeks short. A lot of universities are doing that. A lot of universities are cutting holidays so they can just go nonstop straight through, get it over with. A lot of schools are pushing back their opening dates to mid-September. A lot of public schools are doing that. And a lot of teacher unions are calling for the start to be online just for safety reasons. So, it's this topic is really, it's been in a talk since January when things started closing down and schools started closing down. Oh, it's going to be 2 weeks. Oh, it's going to be a month. Now it's the rest of the school year. But we're just getting into that things are starting to reopen phase. And like Alex said, over the next really month, because, like I said, schools are moving their start dates in the middle of September. So over really the next month, this is going to be continuing kind of coverage on what's going on. You know, a lot of schools might say, nope, screw it, we're just going online fully. Or they might say, first half of the year's online, second half we're going to try in person, depending on these factors. Or you have a decision as a family to, decide whether you want to send your child in or do a hybrid type deal or whatnot. And another factor here, and I just thought about this, is families with multiple children in multiple different grade levels. Your exposure just went up 100 times. You know, say you have a kid in kindergarten and you got one in second grade and maybe one in like middle school or whatever. A lot of times that's upwards of 3 separate schools depending on how your school district breaks it apart.
Oh, yeah.
It's 3 different grades you're interacting with. What was our graduating class? Like 120, 130, Alex?
Actually, more than that. I think at the end of it all, we had, I think, 160 or 158.
Yeah, so imagine that times 3. You're 600 people now that you're interacting with, plus teachers and custodians and nurses and administrators and all that. That's 600 people easily that your children are now in contact with and bringing all that home.
I mean, you look at how many...
All because you have 3 children in 3 separate areas and 3 separate grade levels.
You look at how many just normal illnesses, flu, bugs, how many times kids come home, you get your parents sick, then they go get coworkers sick. Exactly. And that's how it's spread. And that's the scary part about sending your kids back to school during this era of COVID.
And
that's where if I had children, I'd be very weary on both sending them and not sending them.
And the problem with COVID is, at first, it might take, incubation period is 14 days. Average is, I think, 7 to 9 days, and you start seeing symptoms. But once you start seeing symptoms, it presents a lot like the flu. So you don't know if one of those 600 people your children got in contact with, or one of the office workers or office employees that you work with or whatnot, or you come in contact with, or the person that made your lunch, at whatever, at McDonald's, if they got sick or whatnot. You don't know if it's just the flu, or is it this crazy virus that is unfortunately killing people, and it's a thinking game, and your mind always goes to the worst, right? You're not going to think, it's just the flu. No, I have COVID, and this is what's happening. And for the people who have unfortunately lost family members, and now their child's home with a cough or a little bit of a fever, that's huge. I mean, that's a shut the door, we're not going out anymore type of deal right there. And it's scary. It's really scary.
Well, very much so. And so, yeah, I don't know. Like, there's not much left to say because you don't know. And the not knowing is the worst part.
Yes. It's scary. I mean, and personally, they just had a slight outbreak, I guess you could call it, at my university over the past weekend, where 11 freshman students tested positive after a college party. They weren't social distancing, they didn't wear masks or anything like that. And one of them did travel to Florida, and they are linking multiple cases and stuff like that. And for me, and my friends that I know and have gone to high school with, gone through the programs that I went through with in high school and are from other school districts, and that we now go to the same college, we are all concerned as a friend group of, okay, we know what we are doing to keep ourselves safe and to keep each other and our friend group safe, but what happens when that one kid sneezes 5-10 feet away from one of us, and we're in the middle of taking a drink and we don't have our mask on? Or we're in the middle of eating lunch and we don't have our mask right on. That's and now we go to study or something where we all know where we've all been. We are all comfortable. We've all been tested, so on and so forth. We're all negative, whatever. We don't have our masks on. We're social distancing, etc. And now one person was in the vicinity of a sneeze. That person had COVID, and now we all have it. And that's where that one person can spread to one person, which that one person spreads to 10. And I know in my friend group, it's mainly 4 of us, and we're all local people. We all went to school together. We all know, we talk to each other daily, and it's concerning to know that, I might go to work. I work alone in an area, and I'm all kind of in my own little area, and everyone that, all of us are in our own little areas. We all work kind of individually, but if that one person that made our lunch is sick, or this one student that we ran across is sick, now what? And that's the fear of the modern day we live in, and it's scary. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I don't know what your plans are, Alex, for the fall. I don't know if you're going back, or if you're gonna take an online class, or if you're just not going back. I don't know, and whatnot. But if you were, what would your plan be going back?
Going back, it would going back. See, that's the difficult part. Is I have other reasons why I'm not too crazy about going back, but with all this COVID definitely being a part of it, if I did go back, I'd be having hand sanitizer in my pocket, be probably wearing rubber gloves, definitely carrying my Eagles mask, which I bought when I was with Matthew. I'd definitely be nervous. If I hear someone cough, I hear someone sneeze, I'm not going to look, but I'm just going to kind of be, you know what I mean? Like, sketched about it.
I know for me, going back, I have one class that's on campus. I tried to get it. I tried to find a substitute that was online just to avoid the whole mess, and now hearing about this potential outbreak. I tried to find an online class to replace it. There wasn't a whole lot. And for me going back, like you said, hand sanitizer in the pocket, face mask, and not touching any surfaces, not using the bathrooms there, not doing anything or going anywhere where there's a huge gathering of people. Luckily, the class that I have is a small class. It's only 30 or 35 people, plus the professor, so it's not huge, but it's still a lot of people for a confined classroom, a confined area where, it's anything can happen, and anyone can be sick, and anyone can have antibodies and still get, not be showing symptoms, not be sick themselves, but still pass that, or just be, has the actual virus, doesn't get sick because of whatever, but can still pass that to someone like me or you. And I'm concerned, you're concerned, everyone should be concerned, and like we said earlier, it's ultimately up to the parent or the student to determine what they are, what they're feeling, and how they want to proceed through the rest of the school year, or even the just the semester in general, and determining on what they're going to do and how long it's going to last.
Yeah. And I think that's a good stopping point for that conversation.
Yeah, I think that moves into also kind of your next conversation as well that you have.
So, with all the schools and all the a lot of the high schools deciding not going to have a fall season, a fall sports season. So, the Big Ten, which is one of the top football conferences, decided they're not going to do college football this week. They're not going to have their 2020 season of college football. Ohio State, one their quarterback Justin Fields, who's one of the top quarterbacks in the country. He is projected to be a first-round pick when he decides to come out of college. He started a petition to allow the Big Ten to play football this year. Personally, yes, there's a lot of things that a lot of the reasons you don't know where they are, don't know where they're coming from, and unlike in the NFL it's 53 people on a roster. In college, it's 90 to 100. There's a lot more people involved, and so it's definitely a much bigger undertaking. But at the same time, you have to have the you have to allow them to play, and that's my opinion on it. Because one, that's good for everyone. That's good for the people that who live for college football, who it gives people sitting at home an escape. And so I think it's very important that they do play, but they have to be very cautious about it. What do you think, Matt?
Well, I think a lot of individuals that, whether it be football, soccer, whatever, any sport, a lot of them have scholarships. A lot of them are held to not only high moral standards but high academic standards. And I think with what we talked about earlier with online classes and all that, that's obviously an issue with the academic side of things and scholarships and whatnot. But I think that sports for a lot of these people, even professionals, whether it be professional football, baseball, whatever, a lot of them, it's a escape from the world, and it has been since they started at modified sports in middle school, or even
Yep.
before then at batting practices or whatever. And it's an escape from the real world, and I think allowing them to play, if they do it properly, and follow all of the mandates and all that, if they do it properly, I think it would be a good way for themselves, the players, the coaches, and even the fans that watch them. Ohio State's a big school. It's known for their football, their marching band, and a lot of other things. The fans watching them, the players, the production staff, all of that, it's going to be such a relief for them to kind of get away from the COVID situation and all that, and just focus on football, focus on baseball, focus on whatever, and play the game that they've enjoyed since they were like 5, or even
Yeah.
So I think that allowing them to play is a good idea, and broadcasting that to their fans is a good idea. But like you said, they have to do it safely. They have to do it where they're not putting people at risk. And like I said earlier, 30 people in a room is scary now, let alone hundreds of players on a roster, plus your support staff, your coaches, all of these other people. It's a lot of people. Just got to make sure you're doing it right.
Especially for the college kids who are looking to take their game to the next level. I mean, how are they going to get scouted by NFL scouts? How are the NFL scouts going to say, hey, he's got the intangibles. Oh, this guy's super fast. This guy's got great ball hawking ability. He can catch the ball in anywhere. How are they going to make a name for themselves, get drafted, or even get on a roster next season? It's very important that they do play for them, for the colleges, because the colleges are going to lose a lot of money from TV deals and
not even that. I mean, they're going to lose a lot from memorabilia and shirts that they sell, and football and anything that they sell. That's profit for the college to keep funding these programs and giving these scholarships to people who deserve them. And if 1 year's taken off, that could affect the next 10, 20, 30 years of being behind the ball on funding, or having to up tuition rates or charge more for books or whatnot because of the fact that they lost this money this year. And I think we're also going to see that moving on to the professional level as well, where the NFL, for instance, is allowing players to opt out and not, not play for a certain reason because they feel that it's, not healthy for them, or it's a potential exposure traveling or whatnot. But they're going to lose money as well. And it's going to be huge for them. Contracts might get cut a little. Players might get cut in general. Support staff might get cut. And on the even the college level, we're talking millions of dollars. But the professional level, that's a whole different story.
Yep. And so, it's a trickle-down effect. I mean, one thing stops happening, one revenue stops coming in, you're gonna have to increase the fees on other things. So it's very unsettling.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be very, very, very interesting, and the way that they're going to have to do it is they're going to have to do it very professionally in order to make it happen. And it's going to be interesting to see. I would love to see some football. I would love to see some other sports on the college level. I think college level, and I think a lot of people will agree with me, and I think you will as well, college level sports are a lot more entertaining than professional level sports. Because there's something on the line for them.
Some college level sports. I'm a big NFL guy. Love college baseball. Oh my god.
There's a lot like basketball. College basketball is huge because there's something on the line for them.
March Madness.
Yeah, exactly. And we saw that ripped from a lot of colleges this year. They're gonna want it next year, and this is when it starts.
Yep, we saw the middle of the season last year. It ended.
Yep.
And so many people didn't get that opportunity.
Yeah. So I'm excited to see sports, and I know a lot of other people are like you, but we're time's gonna tell, and I guess ultimately colleges have the final say on what they want. A division might say, yeah, we're going to allow you to do your, the Big Ten. We're going to allow it to happen. But colleges might say, no, we're not putting our players in risk. We're not putting our teammates at risk. And we're not putting the other students that go here at risk because you guys are traveling around.
Yeah, so I mean, there's a lot of variables to go into it, and it's a really tricky thing to navigate.
Yeah. So without going much farther into that, you got any final thoughts here?
Other than, I got nothing. My mind is blank.
Well, Alex is blank. Mine's blank. I need something to drink. I went through my my Gatorade here. Not sponsored. I will.
I got a big slushie, and there's still half left. Paired twice. 2-0. I even up the score next week, bro.
I doubt it. Well,
yeah, you probably won't.
I think that's going to conclude another episode of the Unfiltered podcast. Make sure to tune in next Wednesday for a brand new episode, and if you haven't already, go check out last week's episode. It's up on, like I said, Anchor, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Music, and iTunes, and a whole other list of them. So go check those out. But with that being said, I think that's where we're going to wrap it up for today. I've been your host, writer, executive producer, Matthew Francis.
I'm your co-host, writer, and favorite comedian, just kidding, executive producer, Alex Peirce. Make sure you do follow the podcast. Leave a review on Apple Music, Spotify, wherever you find your podcasts. Follow us on social media.
Yeah, so you can find us on Twitter and Instagram. Mine's at MattF_media14.
My Instagram is Alex Peirce, one word, Unfiltered. And my Twitter is at AJ Peirce 43.
Yeah, so check us out on Instagram, Twitter. Leave us your comments. Let us know what you think about sending people back to school and football and all that. We'd love to hear them. And you can also email us at MatthewFrancisMedia@gmail.com and write us a comment on there or whatever. But the Unfiltered Podcast is a production of Matthew Francis Media, and we thank you for stopping out for another episode.
So long, guys. See you next week.